Welcome back to Armchair Safari, the daily show where we try to become better designers by breaking down something that we find online, looking at what other great designers are doing, and just figuring out what is good about this, what should we take away to our design, what is not so good about this, what should we avoid in our designs, and the most important thing always, does this work for the end user? Today, we are learning from Nitish Kagwal. Again, I think he's been on the show before. He's doing really good stuff, so definitely recommend a follow. And today we're looking at this floating button disclosure. So this is a design exploration, so it's not supposed to be a finished design. It's not in context. We don't know what app this comes from or whatever. But I thought it was so beautiful that we just need to look at it. So take a second and enjoy, and then let's break it down. Oh my God, yes. Okay, so what is good about this? First off, the colors of this are incredible. I think maybe the text on the options is actually black. Otherwise, it's all in this gray beige sort of tone. But it still has high enough contrast that this just looks like it's a super branded sort of element. I absolutely love that. Pretty much every single detail here is incredibly well made. So the core button is well made, the animation is super well made, the expanding and de-expanding, disexpanding, impanding, whatever, effect is really excellent. All of the icons have a really good padding to it. The visual hierarchy is really easy to follow. And the core thing that I really love about this, the reason why I wanted to bring it up, is because it keeps the user in context in a way that I rarely see. So in this case, you're supposed to make a choice. This is not something that you open and close most of the time. Usually you're adding something. You just need to add what it is you're adding. And I just love the fact that it pops up underneath the mouse. So you click and then you have the choice right there. It's incredibly efficient to keeping the user in flow. And it's also a lovely little delightful detail in a UI. So I love how this is captured. Now let's have a look at, actually let's pause it when it's open. First, just have a look at what does it look like. Okay, so the hover color is a really nice offset to the rest of it. Really interesting that he's using a stronger color than the background of the icons. I don't see that quite. I don't see that very often. It's a very interesting choice. It looks fantastic. As you can see, he's using a very rounded borders and edges, and in this case, it makes the whole thing feel a little playful, a little childlike, almost like it's a naivistic UI. Absolutely love that. Together with the color, you get this warm, homely vibe to it. It's really excellent. There's also a ton of white space without being huge, which is a really nice thing. And everything is just very clear. The visual hierarchy here is super easy to follow. You see exactly what you want first. You see the short version of what is the option. Then there's more information if you need it. There's an icon to make it rememberable, so you can just click the icon or click the thing next to the icon. If you're going really fast, there's no need to read. And without the hover effect, it's just a really nice element. Pops up under your mouse and it has this super subtle drop shadow effect. So it does feel like it's above the UI behind it. Really, really lovely. And let's see, what does it look like when it's expanding? So you click this button, which is a very simple but still really nicely made button. And when you click it, it doesn't react, I think. Let's watch it in action, but in a very slow speed, I think. No, so the button does not have an effect itself. Instead, what happens is the button border, the button background expands to become the background of the new element. I don't think I've ever seen that before. This is an incredibly smooth transition. Absolutely love this. It's something that is it's so rapid that this is really, I've talked a lot about this. Animations are best when they're felt, not when they're seen. You're supposed to feel like it's a real thing that's just pulsing and doing something. And if you can see what it's doing, it's probably going too slow because now you're looking at the animation instead of feeling it and looking at the UI. And in this case, I could not tell that this is what the UI was doing. It was just happening to me. So it's a beautiful, beautiful example of how you should integrate animations. This was also a really interesting example of how content can be completely disconnected to the view or the container of the content. We've seen this a bunch of times on the channel as well. On some of the GUI elements, we see that the container can sort of grow, shrink, and morph, and the content is not related to that. The content is just displayed in the container, which probably makes this a whole lot harder to create, but it looks fantastic. So in this case, what happens is that the button expands, becomes sort of the right color, and then we can see the content blur in. It also flies up a little bit at the same time and in the same speed as the close button. Very nice effect. And when does the shadow come in? The shadow comes in about halfway through. So here, now it has a shadow. That is a very interesting. That's very interesting. That's very cool. Is it also? Can you just zoom in and see? Yeah, there's. It's not just a shadow. It's also a border to this. That's very cool. All right, and when you close it, I don't think this button had an effect either. No, it just drops down. Now you can see the effect again where the content is smaller than the containers. The container is contrasting, is shrinking, but the content is just inside it and slowly just being removed. But this effect I just want to see. So when it comes down to the button, it bounces just a little bit, just a few. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. Just a few pixels. But it's enough to get this Disney's animation principles thing going, where something bounces to give it an effect of like it is done and it dropped in, or it had an actual velocity to it. It makes it feel less artificial and more like it's actually a physical object, or it's an actually logically consistent object because it doesn't necessarily need to be physical. It's absolutely beautiful. So, is there anything bad about this? Can we say anything that's bad about this? Well, I guess one thing that is bad about this would be the fact that this is probably going to be quite hard to make. There's a lot going on, and if the outer container and the inner container are different sizes, then it probably can't, they probably have to be set exactly, or they have to share like a parameter of how big they are. So it's probably going to be technically a little bit complicated to do, which means it's less likely to be made. But that's not really up to the designer, right? This is something that we should have a dialogue with whomever is implementing this with. Maybe they're up for it, maybe they think it's fun, maybe it's something there's a library for it. I have no clue. Is there anything else that is bad about this or that could be improved about this? I think every other choice, more or less, is just an opinion. So you could say that you would prefer a different color. The contrast are fantastic, so you could change the hue, but I wouldn't change the contrast. You could say that, oh, I would like the button to be a part of the overlay, but honestly, I absolutely love this. I wouldn't change it. Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of opinions to be had, but I don't think there's any real design critique to give. I think this Nitish has really created something that is just an incredibly beautiful object and something that I hope we can sort of see more of in actual UIs. So the last question is, does this work for the end user? And we don't know the context, so we can't actually say. But that said, because of what this button is doing, right? It's giving you a bunch of stuff that you can create based on the plus button that you clicked. I'm assuming that we're in some sort of project management setting, and we're creating a bunch of tasks or reminders constantly. I would probably want to have a keyboard shortcut for that, but a really nice side effect would also be to just not have to move the mouse too much. So when I click the plus, I'm on the reminder note, or I can just scroll up like tiny, tiny bit and be on the task. So personally, I think that this would work. That's an opinion. So we can't definitively say would this work or not, but it's absolutely beautiful. So I certainly hope it would. All right, that's it. Thank you very much. That's everything for today. See you tomorrow, where Armchair Safari will return with some other design.